It starts as a whisper, just a small nagging voice in the back of your head. It asks, "Why did I say that?" It tells you, "They probably think I'm stupid." It screams, "I'm going to fail." You know this voice. It is the inner critic. And for most people, it never shuts up. Neuroscientist Ethan Kross calls this chatter. It isn't just annoying. It is a biological state that physically damages your brain, spikes your cortisol, and destroys your ability to focus. It is the single biggest barrier between you and the life you want. But what if I told you there is a kill switch? There is a specific, weird psychological trick, a single linguistic shift, that Kross discovered in the lab. It turns that voice off instantly. It sounds almost too simple to work, which is why most people never try it. Most people spend their whole lives fighting their own minds using willpower. Today, I'm going to show you the 3-step strategy to stop thinking and start living. But I'm going to give you that specific kill switch, the one word that changes everything, at the very end of this video. Because if you use it wrong, it doesn't work. First, we have to understand the enemy. Evolution designed your brain to worry. 100,000 years ago, that voice kept you safe from tigers. It was a survival mechanism. If you heard a rustle in the grass, the voice said, "Run." Today, that voice keeps you safe from email or an awkward text message. When we experience negative emotions, we tend to zoom in. We replay the event over and over. This is called the rumination loop. It's like revving a car in neutral. You burn fuel, you overheat the engine, but you don't go anywhere. You are exhausted, but you haven't moved an inch. So, how do we put the car in drive? How do we break the loop? Quick pause. Subscribe for more, otherwise the algorithm is chaotic and you might not find my channel ever again. Seriously, secure your spot now. Okay, let's fix your brain. Step 1 is the foundation. It's called distance self-talk. When you are in a negative spiral, pay attention to the specific words you use in your head. You probably use the words I, me, and my. You say, "Why do I feel this way?" or "What is wrong with me?" Ethan Kross found that the word I is a trap. It activates the self-referential processing center of the brain. It makes the pain stick to you like glue. It immerses you in the drama. This leads to something psychologists call Solomon's paradox. King Solomon was famous for giving amazing advice to others, but his own personal life was a total mess. We are all like King Solomon. We are great at helping our friends, but terrible at helping ourselves. So here's the hack. You need to create distance. When the voice starts, stop saying I. Instead, talk to yourself like you are coaching a friend. Sounds crazy. But in MRI scans, when people stopped using I and started coaching themselves objectively, the emotional centers of their brain calmed down almost instantly. You are tricking your brain into thinking you are helping a friend, not judging yourself. You move from an emotional state to a rational state. But wait, it gets deeper. Once you have created distance, you need to change your timeline. This brings us to step 2, temporal distancing. Chatter creates a microscope. All you can see is the problem right in front of you. It feels permanent. Feels like the world is ending. We need to switch from a microscope to a telescope. Ask yourself this specific question. How will I feel about this inside of 10 years? Think back to something that stressed you out 5 years ago. Maybe an embarrassing moment in high school or a mistake at an old job. Does it still ruin your day? Probably not. You might even laugh about it now. This is called the impermanence of mental states. By forcing your brain to look at the future, you realize that the current pain is temporary. You deactivate the fight or flight response because the brain realizes this isn't a life or death threat. It is just a moment. So, step 1 creates space between you and the voice. Step 2 creates space between now and the future. But sometimes you can't think your way out of a problem. Sometimes the chatter is too loud and your brain is too tired. This brings us to step 3. If you can't control your mind, control your outside world. Have you ever seen the tennis player Rafael Nadal? Before every serve, he adjusts his socks. He lines up his water bottles exactly. Is he OCD? Maybe. But Ethan Kross says this is a compensatory control mechanism. Here is the secret. When your internal world feels chaotic, your brain craves order. If you can't get order inside, get it outside. Clean your desk. Do the dishes. Organize your books by color. It sounds trivial, but physically organizing your environment sends a signal to your brain that you are in control. It lowers anxiety. Or step outside. Cross discusses the power of awe. Looking at a giant tree, the ocean, or the stars shrinks the ego. When you look at the vastness of the universe, your problems feel small. And when you feel small, your chatter feels quiet. So we have the tools. We have distanced self-talk, temporal distancing, and environmental control. But remember the kill switch I promised you at the start? The one word that creates that immediate distance we talked about in step 1? It really is just your name. That is the secret. When the inner critic attacks, don't say, I am failing. Say, okay, your name, how are we going to fix this? Okay, David, why are you worried? Okay, Sarah, let's take a breath. It sounds too simple to be true, and that is why most people ignore it. They want a complex solution for a complex problem. But the most successful people in the world don't let the voice in the driver's seat. They step into the passenger seat. They coach themselves by name. Now that you've silenced the critic, you have a new problem. You have all this mental energy, but you need to direct it. You need to learn how to enter the flow state immediately. Click this video right here to learn how to focus like a laser. I'll see you there.